Hello and welcome to part 5, season 2 of my Watch Sailor Moon Learn Japanese series. I'm going to be breaking down an episode from Sailor Moon S one word at a time to teach you Japanese and to walk you through the translation process. MIKUUJI! So first, a disclaimer, this series is meant for intermediate learners of Japanese. If you're a beginner, if that's more your speed, I have a 45-part series called Japanese for Beginners. The link is floating next to my face somewhere, and it's also in the video description. And go there if you need more detailed instructions if you are a beginner. Also note that the script for this episode, Japanese, Romaji, and English translation are also in the video description below. On to the show, where we last left our heroes. Nakama wo kizukau omae no pure na kokoro o itadaku. So Mikuuji, the Daemon, has just revealed herself from the tree to Rei, and Rei says, Na-Nan. So that really means what is that? In this case, the no or the nano is more like a question marky sort of particle. And then Mikuuji says, Nakama wo kizukau omae no pure na kokoro o itadaku. So we're going to split this sentence into two parts. Part 1 is Nakama wo kizukau omae. The second part of the sentence is no pure na kokoro o itadaku. So let's look at the first part of that sentence first. So omae is basically going to be our subject of the sentence, you, Rei. And everything that comes before omae in this case is modifying omae. So it's kind of like, just think of it as a big adjective that is going to describe omae, you, Rei. And this adjective, it's not really an adjective, but it's working as an adjective, is nakama wo kizukau. So kizukau is like to care for. And then nakama, nakama, a word of contention in the anime community. So nakama means nakama, but it means your friends, your comrades, your allies, your family. It is a little bit more of a nuanced word than friends per se. I do understand a little bit of the tendency or the desire to leave it as nakama because it doesn't have an exact English equivalent that's universally the same thing as nakama, but in this case, nakama is friends. So nakama wo kizukau is like to care for your friends. And think of that as an adjective. So Rei, omae, who cares for her friends. That's that first part. And then the second part, the no pure na kokoro o itadaku. Pure na kokoro, it's come up many times in this series so far. Pure heart. Itadaku. So maybe you'll recognize this verb if you hear it in its polite form. Itadakimasu. So she actually is kind of saying she's going to eat it, especially if you look at the second half of Sailor Moon S when the Daimon actually do eat the pure heart crystals. But itadaku and itadakimasu does not actually mean eat. It means partake, receive. But it's a very like antiquated word. Like normal people don't talk like that. Mikuuji is a villain, so she is going to speak in a more grandiose sort of like, you know, Shakespearean kind of way almost. So pure na kokoro o itadaku is to receive, to partake of the pure heart. So the no is in there connecting those two parts. So you, Rei, who are kind and caring to your friends, apostrophe s, pure heart, itadaku. I'm going to take the pure heart of you who is caring for her friends. So basically you just like take that sentence and you flip it backwards, and that's the word order in English. And I localize that as your pure heart which cares for your friends shall be mine. So we don't really have this thing so much where we can just add a bunch of stuff before a noun, or subject in a sentence and make that the adjective. So the wording of like caring for friends, you, pure heart crystal, I will take, it just doesn't work very well, so you have to rework it. I changed the like I shall partake or take to shall be mine because I don't know, it just sounds cooler. If she takes it, of course, it's going to be hers, so it's not a mistranslation, it's just a rewording of it. Koko ja, ojii-chan tachi o makizoe niしちゃう. So koko ja, koko is here, ja, koko dewa, koko ja, if here, basically is what that literally means. Ojii-chan-tachi, ojii-chan's grandpa, tachi means ojii-chan and others. It doesn't specify who the others are. I would imagine it's Yuichiro or anyone else who works the shrine or anyone else who's currently visiting the shrine off screen somewhere else in another part of the shrine. So ojii-chan-tachi, ojii-chan and the others. O, so a verb is going to happen to ojii-chan and the others. Makizoe ni suru. So makizoe ni suru is to get something, an object, wrapped up in something, caught up in something. And in this case, the object is ojii-chan-tachi, grandpa and the others. So if here, kokoja, grandpa and the others will get caught up in this. She doesn't specify in this fight, but obviously, like, there's a fight that's gonna go down. So I localize that as, I can't fight here, I'll endanger grandpa and the others.
あなたの今日の運勢は大凶です。
So anata no, your. Interesting, she used omae like 2 lines ago, now she's using anata. I think part of this is, and she's also like speaking kind of more like an announcer almost. Because that's kind of what she's doing here. She's announcing Rei's fortune, basically. Kind of like a fortune teller. I think that's why she switched pronouns from omae to anata. Omae is more condescending, anata is more just kind of polite, generic. So anata no, your kyou no, today's. So your today's unsei is luck, basically. Daikyou, so if you ever go to a shrine in Japan, you can get many different levels of luck. You can get daikichi is the best, it's like the best luck. Kichi is just luck. And then suekichi is like you'll get lucky later. Kyou is bad luck. And then daikyou is like really bad luck. And I localize that pretty straightforward. Your fortune today is worst luck.
Daemon Mikuuji. この娘の中にタリスマンが宿っているかもしれない。ピュアな心を奪い取りなさい。
この娘の中に. So この娘, musume is, it means daughter, but often when people are using it, especially when villains are using it, it means just girl. This maiden, this girl, this young girl. So この娘の中に, inside this girl, 宿っている. Is the present participle form of yadoru, which is to lodge. If you're a Shigi Yugi fan, you might recognize that kanji is the second kanji of all the seishi's names, like Tamahome, Hotohori, Nuriko, it all ends in that kanji, and it means to lodge, to reside, to host. So talisman ga yadotte iru kamoshirenai, maybe a talisman is lodged, hosted, inside this girl. So in the localization, I just cleaned it up a little by localizing it as this girl may be a talisman host. I just changed this whole like thing, talisman might be inside of her sort of thing. I just, host, she's a host. A talisman host. She might be a talisman host. Fewer syllables, fewer words, the better. It cleans it up. It's faster to read. It's just cleaner. Pyua na kokoro o ubai-torinasai. So pyua na kokoro. Ubai-toru is a verb that means like to steal something. I think that's come up in previous parts of this series. And then the nasai version of a verb is like the please-ish. It's more like a command. It's like a polite commanding version of the verb. So I often will translate that as do this verb at once. It usually does have this sort of like make haste and do this verb vibe to it. So I localize that as take her pure heart crystal at once. I added crystal in there just because take her pure heart at once. It just kind of sounds weird in English. In Japanese, it doesn't sound as weird because they're using English words, which to them are exotic, but to us they are not. So your pure heart, like it has more of like a literal image to us. In Japanese, it sounds a little more exotic, like this mystical, like ginzuisho, like it sounds more exotic to them. So, but to us, like we're imagining like taking somebody's actual like beating heart out of their chest, which is morbid, and that's not quite what this is. Sailor Moon's more lighthearted. So pure heart crystal is really what she's saying, telling her to get. That makes it a little more, symbolic. Makes it less like, literally, we're gonna rip your heart out of your chest.
Daemon Mikuuji!
Rei asks, Daimon? Probably like, what's a daimon? I've never heard of a daimon before. And then Mikuuji says her name because that's what the monsters of the day say.
結果が出るのは時間の問題ね。タリスマンを持つ可能性のある他の人間を探しましょう。
And then KAORI goes on to say, 結果が出るのは時間の問題ね. So 時間の問題 is an expression. It means it's only a matter of time. Mondai means a lot of different things. It can mean problem or issue. So literally it means like a matter of time or an issue of time or a problem of time. But it's a matter of time. So what is a matter of time? 結果が出るのは. So this no wa thing is, it is only a matter of time before A happens. So 結果が出る, 結果 is results, and 出る is to go out. So results will be out. It's only a matter of time before results will be out. And I localized that as it's only a matter of time before we see what we've got. I don't know, results didn't sound right to me, so I changed it. Okay, so now we have another really long sentence where we're using a string of words basically to modify the subject of the sentence or to modify some noun. And in this case, the string of words is tarisuman o motsu kanosei no aru. Hokano. That's like the whole string of words that modifies ningen, which is human. So ningen o sagashimashou. Let's look for a human. Or I think I'll look for a human. Hoka no ningen o sagashimashou. I think I'll look for a different human, another human. Tarisuman o motsu kanosei no aru. So something, something, something no aru. Something who has something, something. So tarisuman o motsu kanosei. Kanosei is possibility. Tarisuman o motsu is has talisman. So possibility of having a talisman no aru. So if we take out the hokano part and it's just something something no aru ningen, it is a human who has the possibility of having a talisman. So it is some different human who has the possibility of having a talisman. That's like the literal translation of that whole string of words. Osagashimashou. It's like, I think I'll look for a different human who has the possibility of having a talisman. That's so wordy, it's so roundabout, it's so weird sounding in English. So I cleaned it up with, I'll go search for more potential talisman hosts. Again, instead of this like tarisuman o motsu, have a talisman, just host. Talisman host. It's just a lot cleaner. It's a clean descriptor of who she's talking about. And KAORI Knight leaves, and we leave the fight scene to go back to Usagi, who's still lamenting the fact that she has to study instead of be with Mamo-chan.
やっぱりお勉強よりマモちゃんとデートした方がいいな。ダメよ。やっぱそうするわ。
So this is going to be a yori something sentence, which means instead of this thing, this other thing would be better. So instead of obenkyo, instead of studying, this other thing is better. And the other thing in this case is Mamo-chan to deito shita hou ga ii na. So Mamo-chan to deito, going on a date with Mamo-chan, and then shita hou ga ii means it would be better if this thing happened. So it would be better to go on dates with Mamo-chan instead of studying. And then this yappari is, yeah, no, I was right. I was right before. I can't deny it. It has that kind of ring to it. So I localize that as, yeah, I think I'd rather go on dates with Mamo than study. And then Luna says, dame yo, no you wouldn't. And dame yo, you know that means no, like that's wrong, don't do that thing. But I phrased it as no you wouldn't just to make it funny. And to make it flow a little bit better with what Usagi said. This is like supposed to be a comedic little moment to sort of break up Rei's dangerous situation that she's in. And then Usagi just kind of ignores Luna and she's like, yappari sou suru wa. Yappari again. It's like, yeah, no, I was right. I can't deny it. I'm right. Sou suru is like, I will do that. And then the wa is a feminine kind of way to end your sentence. And I had fun with this localization. I localized it as would to, gonna do, just to make it kind of sing-songy and sassy, because she's being kind of sassy.
こらウサギみんなと約束したんでしょお勉強するってだって
Luna says, Kora, usagi, and bites her. Kora, you probably know it just means hey, when you're trying to get someone to stop something usually. Minna to yakusoku shita n desho? So minna, as we discussed earlier, it literally means everyone, but in this case it means the girls for the most part, or us. So something to yakusoku suru is to make a promise with something. So in this case it's minna, everyone, the girls, us. So you made a promise. Shita no desho, shita n desho means like she's explaining this to Usagi. The des is like the explaining sort of way of ending a sentence. She's not making a statement, she's explaining, hey, you promised us, you promised your friends and everyone that you were going to study. And that's why I'm being so adamant that you study. Obenkyou suru te. So the first half of the sentence is you promised everyone that you would study. And it's one of those things that doesn't quite ring well in English if you keep it separated that way. I mean, I guess you could make it two separate thoughts. You promised everyone, remember? You said you'd study, like, because te, that small tsu with a te is like quotation marks, and you're quotation marking basically obenkyou suru. That's like Usagi saying, I'll study, obenkyou suru. datte. It's like you said that. You could translate that as two separate thoughts, and if it were a dub and I had more screen space, I could do that, but I have to condense everything into one thought. So instead I did, remember, you promised us you'd study every day. I added the every day in there just to make it more like, I don't know, you promised us you'd study. I mean, I guess that could work. I like the everyday though, because basically Usagi's on the way to study, and then she's not going on the way to study. She's like gonna ditch that day. And Luna's like, no, you promised us you study every day. Don't go home now. You're supposed to go study every day. I think that's kind of why I added the every day. Could go either way. Doesn't need it, but I like it. And then Usagi says, datte. This has come up before in videos. I did a whole video actually about datte and sasuga, these like two words that are pretty hard to translate because they don't have, that's a really good example of a word that absolutely does not have this one-to-one perfect translation of this is the word that datte always means. Like, no, datte means so many different things. It's often translated as but, and it kind of has that but. It kind of has the but meaning to it, but it's more like, but mom, or but I don't wanna. It has that sort of but to it. It's more like just a complaining but. But in English, we don't go, but, like, we don't just say but by itself. We follow it up with, but mom, or but Luna, or but I don't wanna. You don't just say but by itself. So if you follow it up with other things in the Japanese, it can be translated as just plain but if it's just by itself, it sounds weird. So I added I don't wanna. So, but I don't wanna after that.
行かないとこうよ。わかったわよ。
And then Luna says threateningly with her claws, 行かないとこうよ. So ko means like this, in this way. And this is referencing her claws. Like this is what's going to happen to you, 行かないと, if you don't go. So if you don't go, you get the claws in your face, basically. This is what's going to happen. So I localized that as then prepare to face the consequences, which is a very free localization. She didn't say consequences or anything like that, but it's basically the same sentiment. She's saying, well, if you don't go, you're going to get claws in your face. If you don't go, prepare to face the consequences of claws in your face. And then Usagi says, wakatta wa yo. So this wa yo, it's a feminine, emphatic way of ending your sentence. Wakatta, I understand, I get it. I localized that as okay, you win.
まったくルナは乙女心を理解してないのよね。怠け心の間違いでしょ?
And here we have another funny Usagi moment. Again, I can't stress this enough. Usagi is hilarious in Japanese, and in translations that I've seen of her in the past, I don't think that came across very well. I don't know about the newest subs of her. In Crystal, she's definitely not so funny. I mean, her character's kind of different in Crystal in general, but in original classic Sailor Moon, she's so funny. Anyway, まったくルナは乙女心を理解してないのよね. So this no yo ne. This no is like the des. It's this explaining sort of defiant way of ending your sentence. Yo ne is like, Luna, am I right, guys? She's like being strong in her statement, but also like, I'm right, you know I'm right, we all know I'm right, sort of ending to a sentence. Mataku, by itself, it can mean good grief, geez, God, but it also sort of means like completely. Luna wa, as for you, Luna, notice she's not using an omae, Anata, she's not using any of those pronouns, she's using Luna's name, that is extremely common. Otome gokoro, so otome is like this sort of antiquated word for girl. Maiden is often how it is translated, usually means a virgin, like a younger girl. So otome gokoro, kokoro means heart, so like the heart of a maiden. So basically like a fair maiden's unsullied heart, the delicate feelings of a maiden. Like you could go so many places with that translation. So otome gokoro wo, some verb is going to happen to this otome gokoro. Rikai shite nai. So rikai suru is to understand. Rikai shite nai is you are not in the state of understanding. Luna wa otome gokoro wo rikai shite nai no yo ne. It's like, God, Luna, am I right? She totally doesn't understand a girl's maiden's heart. And I localized that as, geez, Luna, show some empathy for a lovesick girl. I chose lovesick there because she's kind of playing up the, you're forcing me to be apart from my love. Mamo-chan, I was going to go on dates with him. How dare you? And now I am lovesick. Now I miss him so. Have some empathy. It's that sort of feel. She's being a little melodramatic here and very sassy. And then Luna retorts with namake gokoro. So Usagi said otome gokoro. Luna said namake gokoro. Namake mono would be like a lazy person. Namakeru is like to be lazy. Namake gokoro is sort of like your heart, your lazy heart, basically, like a literal translation of that. So namake gokoro no kanchigai desho? And she's like, I think you meant to say namake gokoro. She's like given some sass back to Usagi. It's like, I think you mispronounced namake gokoro. And so I localized that as, I think you meant to say lazy girl.
Hey, just a quick note, if you're enjoying these Sailor Moon translation breakdowns, join the new Sailor Moon tier in my Patreon to support this series and get a monthly translation breakdown of a character song from Sailor Moon. It's the same thing I do in these videos, except it's in written form, and it's exclusive to patrons at the Sailor Moon level. Link is in the video description and a pinned comment. Back to the video.
And then Rei screams off camera, and Usagi says, Rei-chan no koe da, so koe, voice, Rei-chan's voice, da. She's using da just to make it a little stronger. That's Rei-chan's voice rather than just Rei-chan's voice. And then Luna says, Nani kashira? Kashira is this very feminine way. It's like kana, but the feminine version of kana. So it's like, I wonder, Nani kashira? I wonder what could it be, basically. So I translated that as what could it be? Usagi sees what's happening. She sees Mikuuji flashing Rei. Incidentally, I'm just going to keep putting it out there until like people respond. I really, really want to get together a big cosplay group of all, I called them the Flashers of Doom when I first watched Sailor Moon unsubbed back in the 90s. And they're like, what are all these people doing? Flashing stars at people and eating their crystals. But yeah, I'd love to get together a huge cosplay group, incidentally, of like all of the Daimon from S. Actually, all of the Monsters of the Day from all of Sailor Moon classic in general would be really cool, but at the very least, the ones from S, because I really like them. Anyway, side rant over. Usagi sees Mikuuji torturing Rei, and she's like, nani? So what? Luna says, wakaranai kedo, I don't know, but tonikaku henshin yo. So tonikaku is, well, for the time being, anyway, henshin yo. So henshin, transform, henshin yo, that turns it into more of like a command. It's like, you should transform. I don't know what's happening, but transform. And then Usagi says, which should not be translated as yeah, because it just doesn't flow well. Translated as okay. And then she says moon crystal power, makeup, her transformation sequence from season 2, because she hasn't quite had the power up yet for season 3. That happens in the next episode. And now she's Sailor Moon, and she says machi-nasai. Again, it's that nasai commanding ending to a verb, so it's more like, I command you hastefully, very quickly, to wait, machi-nasai, rather than just matte, machi-nasai. It makes it a lot more like authoritative, and I have the higher ground. I am Sailor Moon, a sophisticated superhero. And then Sailor Moon gives her speech, which I broke down in detail in the first episode of my Watch Sailor Moon Learn Japanese series. I have a link probably next to my face and also in the video description below. So if you want the word-by-word breakdown of Sailor Moon's speech, go check that out.
Sailor Moon!
And now once again we have an instance of like a bunch of words preceding a noun to basically be an adjective to that noun. So the noun in this case is otomodachi, friend. So all the words that come before otomodachi are going to just be modifying otomodachi. Junsui na kokoro o motta. So in this case, she's using the word junsui instead of pyua for pure. And I think it's because she wants to make it more like understandable and really clicking to Japanese people in this case. Pyua does not click as much to them. Again, it sounds more exotic, but junsui to them they'd feel that a lot more than they would feel pyua. So junsui na kokoro is more like metaphorically pure-hearted rather than like the pure heart crystal that the Daimon are taking out. But like Rei has a pure heart, like symbolically and literally. She has the pure heart crystal, but she also is a pure-hearted girl. I think that's why they use junsui here instead of pyua. But anyway, junsui na kokoro o motta. So had, technically, because it's past tense, a pure heart. Tomodachi, a friend who had a pure heart. It's not, even though it's literally had, even though they're literally using the past tense for to have, it does not actually mean like she had a pure heart, now she doesn't have one anymore, now she's dead or something. No, it just means like a person who has a pure heart. Oh, so a verb is going to happen to this friend who has a pure heart. Ijimeru. So ijimeru usually just means like to bully someone, to tease someone, to pick on someone. She's kind of talking to Mikuuji like Mikuuji is like younger. It's like, you are a very naughty girl for picking on my friend who has a pure heart. I mean, Mikuuji's doing a lot more than just like ijimeru, like bullying and picking on Rei. She's like almost killing Rei, basically. But you know, we're making it lighter. This is a kids show. It's kind of comedic in nature, so we're kind of lightening it up a little bit. So we use ijimeru. Ijimeru nante, so X nante is like, X? Oh, I'm scoffing at the idea of X. So teasing my friend who has a pure heart crystal? Ah, you know, nante, like, oh, how dare you, preposterous. Yurusenai. Okay, so yurusenai, I think I already covered this probably many parts ago in this series when I did episode 1, part 1 of Why Sailor Moon Learn Japanese. But anyway, yurusenai literally means like will not forgive or can't forgive. Yurusanai means won't forgive. Yurusenai in here is cannot forgive. So I find that that's generally not the best translation for yurusu or yurusanai or yurusenai into English, because when we say forgive, we often mean like somebody apologizes and then I forgive you, or we mean it in like a religious context, like I pray thee, Lord, please forgive me for my sins. And that's not what yurusu really means in Japanese. It's a little more, it means to forgive, but a little more along the lines of to permit or to allow. Forgive in English doesn't really have the permit or allow nuance to it. It's more forgive someone when they have wronged you or when they have committed a sin and when they ask for forgiveness, versus yurusu also means like I give you permission, I allow this to happen. And then yurusanai or yurusenai, I find that's often really best translated as you'll pay dearly or you will pay. Like, I'll make you pay. You're not going to get away with it. I think it's just a much better translation of that, given the fact that yurusu has that nuance of to permit someone to do something rather than to forgive. So, you'll pay dearly for picking on my pure-hearted friend. And then tsuki ni kawatte oshioki-o. Again, that was in part 1 of this series. So if you want a word-by-word breakdown of In the Name of the Moon, I'll punish you. Again, I don't think punish is necessarily the best translation of that. It gets kind of sexual, I don't know, in people's minds. So check that out if you want to see a full breakdown of that. And that's brought us to the end of this episode. Oh my god, will Rei get out of this pinch? Of course she will, but how? I'm excited about the next part of this series because Uranus and Neptune are finally going to show up. So I hope you'll tune in next time. 月の光は愛のメッセージ